The shuttle doors opened with a soft hiss. Yuna stepped onto the space station and took her first breath of recycled air. It smelled like metal and something sweet she could not name. All around her, beings of every shape and size walked through the bright white corridors. Some had scales. Some had fur. Some floated instead of walked. She was the only human in sight. Yuna was 19 years old. She stood 5 feet and 4 inches tall. By Earth standards, she was average. By galactic standards, she was tiny. She knew this. She had prepared herself for the stairs. But knowing and feeling were two different things. A creature with 6 legs and eyes, like black marble, stopped and looked at her. Its antenna twitched. Then it moved on. Yuna gripped the strap of her bag a little tighter and kept walking. The bag was old. The leather was soft from years of use. It had belonged to her grandmother. When her grandmother died 2 years ago, Yuna had taken the bag and never let it go. It was the only thing she had left of the woman who raised her. The woman who taught her to be strong. The woman who told her every night before bed that she was made of fire and steel. Yuna missed her grandmother every single day. The Galactic Integration Academy was the most famous school in the known universe. Students came from over 60 different species to learn together. Earth had only joined the Galactic Union 5 years ago. Humans were still new, still strange, still not fully trusted. Getting accepted into the academy was nearly impossible for a human. Yuna had worked harder than anyone to earn her place. She found her room on the 3rd level of the student housing block. It was small but clean. A single bed. A desk. A window that showed the stars. She sat on the bed and looked out at the endless darkness. Somewhere out there was Earth. Somewhere out there was home. But home was not a place anymore. Home was a memory. Home was a leather bag and a grandmother's voice. The next morning, Yuna attended her first class. The room was large. The seats were designed for many different body types. She found a spot near the back and sat down quietly. The instructor was a Velith, a species known for their strict sense of fairness. His skin was gray and smooth. His eyes were yellow. He spoke in a calm voice and welcomed the new students. Yuna listened carefully. She understood most of what he said. Her translator chip helped with the rest. After class, someone called her name. She turned and saw a young man walking toward her. He was human. He had short black hair and tired eyes. His name was Jiho. He had come to the academy 1 year before her. "You are the new one," he said. "From Earth?" "Yes," Yuna said. "I am Yuna." Jiho smiled, but the smile did not reach his eyes. "Welcome to the academy. I will give you some advice. Keep your head down. Do not make trouble. And stay away from the Tarathi." Yuna tilted her head. "The Tarathi?" Jiho looked around. Then he lowered his voice. "They are the big ones. 8 feet tall, 4 arms, skin like armor. They think they are the top of every food chain. And maybe they are. Their home planet is brutal. Only the strong survive there. They look at humans like we are insects." Yuna thought about this. "I am not an insect." Jiho laughed softly. "I know, but they do not. Just be careful. There is one Tarathi in particular. His name is Vrek. His father is a powerful diplomat. Vrek thinks he owns this station. He picks on anyone he sees as weak. And to him, humans are the weakest." Yuna nodded slowly. "Thank you for the warning." Jiho patted her shoulder. "Good luck, Yuna. I mean it." She did not have to wait long to meet Vrek. It happened that same afternoon. Yuna was walking through the main corridor when she felt the floor shake. Heavy footsteps. She looked up and saw him. Vrek was massive. His body was covered in thick bone plates. His forearms hung at his sides like weapons waiting to be used. His eyes were small and dark. When he saw Yuna, he stopped. Other students moved out of his way. The corridor grew quiet. Rek looked down at her. His mouth twisted into something like a smile. "What is this?" he said. His voice was deep like thunder. "Another human? They are so small. Like little toys." His friends laughed. There were 3 of them, all Tarathi, all just as big and just as cruel. Yuna said nothing. She looked at Vrek with calm eyes. Then she walked around him and continued down the corridor. The laughter stopped. Vrek turned and watched her go. His small eyes narrowed. No one had ever ignored him before. Every species, every student, they all showed fear. They all showed respect. But this tiny human girl had looked at him like he was nothing. "Interesting," Vrek said quietly. One of his friends nudged him. "She is just stupid. Humans do not know any better." Vrek shook his head slowly. No, she knew. She just did not care. He watched Yuna disappear around the corner. Something hot burned in his chest. It was anger. And something else. Something like curiosity that no one ignored Vrek. No one. He would make sure this human learned that lesson in her room that night. Yuna sat by the window and held her grandmother's bag. She could still smell the old leather. She could still feel her grandmother's hands. "I will be strong," she whispered to the stars. "I promise." The stars did not answer, but somewhere deep inside, she felt her grandmother smile. 2 weeks passed. Yuna learned her way around the station. She learned which corridors to take. She learned which teachers were kind and which were strict. She learned that the food in the cafeteria was strange, but not terrible. She learned many things. She also learned that Vrek was not going to leave her alone. It started small. A bump in the hallway. A shove that sent her books flying. Vrek would walk past her and say nothing. But his shoulder would hit her hard enough to make her stumble. His friends would laugh. Other students would look away. Yuna picked up her books. She said nothing. She kept walking. This happened again and again. In the cafeteria, Vrek would walk by her table and knock over her drink. In the corridor, he would block her path and make her walk around him. In the library, he would stand behind her and breathe loudly until she moved. Every time, Yuna stayed calm. She cleaned up the mess. She walked away. She did not yell. She did not cry. She did not give him what he wanted. This made Vrek angry. Very angry. Why does she not react? He asked his friends one night. They were sitting in the common area, watching the other students. Every other species shows fear. The Veleth look away. The Kreth bow their heads. Even the Malorans, who are almost as big as us, show respect. But this human? She looks at me like I am nothing. One of his friends shrugged. Humans are strange. They come from a death world. Maybe they are too stupid to feel fear. Vrek shook his head. No, she feels something. I can see it in her eyes. She's just hiding it. He leaned back and crossed 2 of his arms. I will break her. Before this semester ends, I will make that human cry. His friends laughed and agreed. It would be fun, they said. A game. Across the common area. Jiho watched them. He felt a cold knot in his stomach. He found Yuna in the library later that evening and sat down beside her. You should report him, Jiho said quietly. This is getting worse. Yuna did not look up from her book. Report him to who? The instructors? They will not do anything. Vrek's father is too powerful. But this is harassment. There are rules. Yuna finally looked at him. Her eyes were calm but tired. Jiho, I have dealt with bullies before. On Earth, in school, in life. They are all the same. They want attention. They want fear. If I give them nothing, eventually they get bored. Jiho looked unsure. Vrek is not like Earth bullies. He is Tarathi. They do not get bored. They get angry. Then let him be angry. Yuna went back to her book. He is not worth my energy. Jiho wanted to argue more, but he saw the look on her face. She had made up her mind. He sighed and stood up. Be careful, Yuna, please. She nodded once. Jiho walked away, still worried that the next day, something changed. Yuna was in the library again, studying for her exams. The room was quiet. Only a few students were there. She did not notice Vrek until his shadow fell over her desk. That she looked up slowly. Vrek stood there with his arms crossed. He was alone this time. No friends. No audience. Just him and her. He reached down and picked up her bag from the floor. The leather bag. Her grandmother's bag. Yuna's whole body went still. Vrek turned the bag over in his hands. He studied it like it was a dead animal. What is this? He asked. His voice was mocking. Primitive animal skin? You humans are truly barbaric. You kill creatures and wear their flesh. Yuna stood up slowly. Her voice was quiet. Put it down. Vrek laughed. Why? Is this important to you? This ugly thing? It belonged to my grandmother. Your grandmother? Vrek snorted. She must have been as pathetic as you, carrying around dead things like a savage. Yuna's jaw tightened. Her hands curled into fists at her sides. But she did not move. She did not attack. She just stared at him with eyes that were suddenly very cold. Vrek felt something strange. For just a moment, he thought he saw something dangerous in those eyes. Something old. Something patient. But then it was gone, and he laughed again. He threw the bag back on the table. It landed with a soft thump. Keep your dead animal skin, he said. It suits you. Weak and worthless. He turned and walked away, still laughing. Yuna stood there for a long time. She did not move. She did not speak. She just looked at the bag on the table. Her grandmother's bag. The only thing she had left. Across the library, a Vela student named Sari watched the whole thing. She had seen Vrek bully many students, but she had never seen anyone stand so still, so controlled. It was like watching someone hold back a storm. Se, or I felt a strange respect for the small human girl, and also something like fear. Not fear of Yuna, fear for Vrek, because Sari had read about humans. She had studied Earth's history. She knew what humans were capable of when they were pushed too far. Vrek did not know, but he was about to learn. That night, Yuna sat in her room and held the bag to her chest. She could still feel her grandmother's warmth in the old leather. I am trying, she whispered. I am trying to be patient, like you taught me. But her hands were shaking. And deep inside her chest, something old and angry was starting to wake up. Something that had been sleeping for a very long time. The day started like any other day. Yuna woke up. She ate breakfast. She went to class. She did everything the same way she always did. But something felt different. The air felt heavy. The lights felt too bright. She did not know why. Her first class was physical training. All students had to take it. The instructor wanted to test their endurance. Different species had different strengths. The Tarathi were powerful but slow. The Velith were precise but weak. The Kreth were fast but had no stamina. Humans, the instructor explained, were strange. They were not the strongest. They were not the fastest. They were not the most precise. But they could keep going when other species stopped. They could run for hours. They could push through pain. They could survive things that would kill others. The test was simple. Run until you cannot run anymore. One by one, The students dropped out. The Kreth lasted 5 minutes. The Velith lasted 10. Even the Tarathi, with all their strength, had to stop after 20 minutes. Their bodies were built for power, not endurance. But Yuna kept running. 30 minutes. 40 minutes. 50 minutes. The instructor watched with wide eyes. The other students watched with shock. Even Vrek, standing at the edge of the track with his arms crossed, watched with something new in his face. Yuna finally stopped after 1 hour. She was breathing hard. Sweat covered her face. But she was still standing. The instructor nodded slowly. Impressive. Humans truly are persistence hunters. Yuna wiped her face and walked to the edge of the room to get her bag. She did not look at anyone. She did not brag. She just wanted to leave. But Vrek was waiting for her. He stepped into her path. His 3 friends stood behind him. The corridor outside the training room was wide, but they blocked it completely. That was a nice show, Vrek said. His voice was cold. Running in circles like a little animal. Is that what humans do best? Run away? Yuna stopped. She looked up at him. Her face was calm, but her eyes were tired. Move. Make me. Other students were gathering now. Word had spread fast. Everyone wanted to see what would happen. Jiho pushed through the crowd and saw Yuna standing alone against 4 Tarathi. His heart dropped. Vrek reached out with one of his 4 hands and grabbed Yuna's bag. He pulled it from her shoulder. She let it go without resistance. Ah, the dead animal skin again, Vrek said loudly. He wanted everyone to hear. The human's precious treasure. Tell me, little human, why do you love this ugly thing so much? Yuna's voice was flat. Give it back. Answer my question first. It is none of your business. Vrek laughed. His friends laughed too. The sound echoed through the corridor like thunder. Everything on this station is my business, Vrek said. My father owns half the diplomats here. I can do whatever I want. And right now, I want to know why a pathetic human carries around dead flesh like a baby with a blanket. Silence. Every student in the corridor held their breath. Yuna spoke quietly. It belonged to my grandmother. She gave it to me before she died. It is the only thing I have left of her. For just a moment, something flickered in Vrek's eyes. Maybe it was understanding. Maybe it was guilt. But then it was gone, replaced by cruel amusement. Your grandmother? The one who raised you to be weak and quiet? He turned the bag over in his hands. She must have been pathetic. Just like you. Yuna's whole body went still. Her breathing stopped. Her eyes changed. Jiho saw it. Sari, who was watching from the back of the crowd, saw it. Something shifted in the air. Something cold and dangerous. Give me the bag, Yuna said. Her voice was different now. Quiet. Controlled. Like the moment before lightning strikes. Vrek smiled. He held the bag up high with 2 hands. Then, slowly, deliberately, he grabbed the leather with his other 2 hands, and he tore it apart. The sound of ripping leather cut through the silence like a scream. The bag came apart in his hands. Books and papers and small personal items scattered across the floor. The leather, old and soft and loved for so many years, was destroyed, ruined. Vrek threw the pieces on the ground. Oops, he said. No one moved. No one breathed. Yuna looked down at the torn leather on the floor. Her grandmother's bag. The last piece of her grandmother. The only thing she had left gone. She stood there for a long moment. Her face was blank. Her body was still. The corridor was completely silent. Then she looked up. Her eyes met Vrek's eyes. And for the first time in his life, Vrek felt something he had never felt before. Fear. Real fear. Because the eyes looking back at him were not the eyes of a scared little human. They were the eyes of something old. Something that had survived ice ages and plagues and wars. Something that had hunted and killed and conquered an entire planet. They were the eyes of a predator. "You should not have done that," Una said softly. Vrek tried to laugh. "It came out wrong. Broken. What are you going to do, little human? Cry? Run away?" Una did not move. She just stared at him with those terrible eyes. "No," she said. "I am not going to run." Vrek felt his hand shake. He told himself it was anger. He told himself he was not afraid. He reached out to push her, to show everyone that he was still in control. His hand moved toward her shoulder. It was the last mistake he would ever make. Vrek's hand reached for Una's shoulder. It was supposed to be a simple push, a final insult. He had done it 100 times to 100 different species. It always worked. They always fell. They always submitted. But Una was not like other species. She moved. No one saw it coming. Not Vrek, not his friends, not the students watching from the crowd. One moment, Vrek's hand was reaching toward her. The next moment, everything changed. Una's body twisted. Her left hand came up and caught Vrek's wrist. Her right hand grabbed his elbow. She stepped to the side, turned her hips, and pulled. The movement was fast, precise, perfect. Vrek's arm, thick as a tree branch and covered in bone plates, was suddenly locked in a position it was not meant to be in. His elbow was bent the wrong way. His wrist was twisted at a terrible angle. For one heartbeat, nothing happened. Then Una pulled harder. The crack was loud. It echoed through the corridor like a gunshot. Every student heard it. Every student flinched. It was the sound of bone breaking. It was the sound of power meeting skill. Vrek screamed. The sound was not human. It was not even animal. It was something raw and primal. Pure pain, pure shock. He fell to his knees, his broken arm hanging loose and useless at his side. His friends stood frozen. They could not understand what they had just seen. Their brains could not process it. One moment, Vrek was reaching to push a tiny human girl. The next moment, he was on the ground screaming. It had taken less than 3 seconds. One of the friends snapped out of his shock. He roared and lunged at Una with all 4 arms. She did not run. She did not hide. She dropped into a low stance and waited. He reached for her. She moved again. A step to the left. A twist of her body. Her elbow came up and hit him in the throat. He stopped. His hands went to his neck. He could not breathe. He fell to his knees beside Vrek, gasping. The second friend attacked. Same result. Una ducked under his swing, drove her knee into his stomach, and pushed him away. He hit the wall and slid down, groaning. The third friend did not attack. He looked at Una, then at his friends on the ground, then back at Una. He saw her eyes, cold, calm, ready. He stepped back. The whole fight had lasted 11 seconds. Una stood in the middle of the corridor, surrounded by 3 fallen Tarathi and one who was too afraid to move. Her breathing was steady. Her hands were relaxed at her sides. She looked like she had just finished a morning walk. Vrek was still screaming. His arm was bent at an impossible angle. Bone had broken through the thick skin. Blood, dark and thick, pooled on the floor. The crowd was completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. They just stared at the tiny human girl who had done the impossible. Jiho pushed through the crowd. His face was pale. "Una," he breathed. She did not look at him. She was staring at the pieces of her grandmother's bag on the floor. The torn leather. The scattered belongings. The destroyed memory. "He broke something precious," she said softly. "I returned the favor." Heavy footsteps echoed down the corridor. Instructor Olan arrived with 2 security guards. He stopped when he saw the scene. 4 Tarathi on the ground. 1 human standing. Blood on the floor. What happened here? He demanded. Everyone started talking at once. But one voice cut through the noise. It was Sari, the Vela student who had watched everything. I recorded it, she said. She held up her device. All of it. Olan took the device and watched the recording. His yellow eyes grew wider and wider. When it ended, he looked at Yuna with something like respect. You will come with me, he said. There will be a hearing. Yuna nodded. She bent down and picked up the torn pieces of her grandmother's bag. She held them gently, like broken bones. Then she followed Olan without a word. Vrek was carried to the medical center. His arm would heal eventually. Tarathi bones were strong, but he would never forget the sound of his own screaming. He would never forget the feeling of helplessness as a tiny human girl destroyed him in front of everyone. The recording spread fast. Within hours, every student on the station had seen it. The tiny human, the massive Tarathi. 11 seconds. 1 broken arm. They watched it again and again. They could not believe it. How was it possible? Humans were supposed to be weak. Humans were supposed to be fragile. Humans were supposed to be easy prey. But the recording showed something different. It showed speed they had never seen. It showed technique they did not understand. It showed a predator that had been hiding in plain sight. That night, students across the station searched the galactic database for information about Earth. What they found changed everything. Earth was a death world. The gravity was crushing. The weather was violent. The animals were deadly. And the humans? The humans had survived it all. They had fought ice ages. They had hunted creatures 10 times their size. They had invented weapons that could destroy cities, and they had practiced fighting each other for thousands of years. They had turned violence into an art form. They called it martial arts. They trained their bodies from childhood. They learned to use every part of themselves as a weapon. Yuna was not just a small girl from a primitive planet. She was the product of millions of years of survival. She was what happened when a species lived on a world that wanted them dead. She was a human. And humans, they realized, were never truly prey. The hearing took place 3 days later. The room was large and cold. A council of 5 instructors sat at a long table. Yuna sat alone on one side. Vrek sat on the other side with his father. Vrek's father was even bigger than his son. His name was High Diplomat Torn. He was one of the most powerful Tarathi in the Galactic Union. His face was twisted with anger. This human attacked my son without reason, Torn said loudly. She broke his arm. She injured 3 other students. She must be expelled and arrested. Instructor Alan raised his hand. We have seen the recording. The recording shows nothing. My son was simply talking to her. The recording shows your son destroying her personal property, then reaching to put his hands on her. She defended herself. Torn slammed his fist on the table. Defended herself? My son is Tarathi. He could crush her with one hand. She was never in any real danger. Alan's yellow eyes were calm. With respect, High Diplomat, your son is the one with a broken arm. Not her. Silence. Torn's face darkened with rage. The council called witnesses. Student after student came forward. They told the truth. They described 2 weeks of harassment. They described Vrek blocking her path, knocking her things down, insulting her, mocking her dead grandmother. Ser, I was the last witness. She played the full recording for the council. Every second, every word, every cruel laugh. When it ended, the head of the council spoke. The evidence is clear. Vrek initiated physical contact. The human responded with force. Under Galactic Union law, this is self-defense. Torn stood up. This is outrageous. My son is the victim here. Your son is suspended for 1 semester. He will receive counseling for aggressive behavior. The council head looked at Yuna. The human receives a formal warning. This hearing is closed. Torn stormed out. Vrek followed, his arm still wrapped in healing gel. He did not look at Yuna. He could not look at her. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw her face. Those cold, patient eyes. He would see them for the rest of his life. Outside the hearing room, Jiho was waiting. He ran to Yuna when she came out. Are you okay? What happened? Self-defense, Yuna said simply. I received a warning. Vrek is suspended. Jiho let out a long breath. I cannot believe it. You actually won. Yuna shook her head. My grandmother's bag is still destroyed. I did not win anything. But the rest of the station did not agree. The recording went beyond the academy. Within a week, it was everywhere. Every planet. Every species. Every corner of the Galactic Union. People watched it millions of times. They shared it with friends and family. They talked about it in cafeterias and offices and government buildings. The tiny human. The massive Tarathi. 11 seconds. Comments flooded the galactic network. I thought humans were fragile. I was wrong. Did you see how fast she moved? It was like she knew exactly what he would do. Humans come from a death world. Of course they can fight. Never make a human angry. Never. Scientists and researchers studied the recording. They analyzed her movements. They measured her speed. They compared her technique to other species. What they found amazed them. Humans had developed fighting styles over thousands of years. They had created systems to use leverage and angles and timing. A small human could defeat a larger opponent. Not with strength, with skill, with knowledge. With millions of years of evolution, one researcher wrote a paper that spread across the galaxy. The title was simple. Humans, the Invisible Predators. A new phrase entered galactic slang. It started in the academy and spread outward like a wave. Whenever someone thought about bullying a human, someone else would say it. Never corner a human. It meant more than just physical danger. It meant that humans were patient. They endured. They waited. They let you think you were winning. And then, when you pushed too far, they reminded you what they really were. Apex predators. The rulers of a death world. Survivors of impossible odds that never corner a human. 1 month after the hearing, Yuna sat alone in the station's garden. It was a quiet place, full of plants from a dozen different worlds. Stars filled the window above. The light was soft and peaceful. In her lap was her grandmother's bag. Or what was left of it. She had collected every piece, every torn strip of leather. And slowly, carefully, she was stitching it back together. The work was slow. The leather was old and fragile. But with each stitch, the bag began to take shape again. Different than before. Scarred, but still whole. Jiho found her there. He sat down beside her and watched her work. You okay? He asked. Yuna smiled faintly. It was the first real smile he had seen from her. My grandmother once told me something. She said that broken things can be fixed. And sometimes the fixing makes them stronger than before. She held up the bag. It was ugly now, full of stitches and patches. But it was complete. She would be proud of you, Jiho said. Maybe. Yuna looked out at the stars. She always said I had her temper. I tried to keep it hidden, but I guess it came out in the end. Jiho laughed softly. I think the whole galaxy knows about your temper now. Across the garden, a group of Tarathi students walked by. They saw Yuna, they saw Jiho, and they quickly looked away. They did not stop. They did not speak. They just walked faster. Yuna watched them go. She did not feel pride. She did not feel satisfaction. She just felt tired. But also, for the first time in a long time, she felt peace. The galaxy was big and strange, and sometimes cruel. But she was a human. She came from a world of fire and ice and war. She had survived everything the world had thrown at her. She could survive this too. In time, the story of the tiny human and the broken arm became a legend. Parents told it to their children. Teachers used it in lessons. Diplomats remembered it in meetings. Humans were no longer seen as fragile curiosities. They were respected, sometimes feared, always remembered. And it all started with a girl named Yuna, a grandmother's bag. And 11 seconds that changed everything. The galaxy learned an important lesson that day. A lesson they would never forget. Never underestimate a human. Never push them too far. Never destroy what they love. And above all else, never corner a human. Because humans do not just survive, they fight back.